Princess Diana of Themyscira finally makes her way into the video game world, as new details and artwork are leaked from the upcoming Wonder Woman game in the works from the studio behind Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. Stick around to find out what this game is going to be about. I'm Brendan Sem for the New Wave Nerds. Subscribe down below for more nerd content and commentary. Now let's read the news. From IGN, Wonder Woman video game details and artwork reportedly emerge online after apparent online survey leak. Warner Bros. Games' long-in-development Wonder Woman game appears to have suffered a leak stemming from an online marketing survey. Users on Reddit and Reset Era posted concept art and a synopsis of the Wonder Woman game currently in development at Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor maker Monolith Productions, based on this apparent survey. The concept art was subsequently removed from Imgur and various social media posts, quote, in response to a report from the copyright holder. It is unclear when the marketing survey was released. Warner Bros. Declined to comment when contacted by IGN. IGN will not publish the leaked artwork or details, but the leak is worth being aware of if you're hoping to go into the game completely fresh when it eventually comes out. We'll be taking a look at some of the leaks. I have no such compunctions about discussing leaked material, so we'll be taking a look at some of those screenshots and the synopsis a little bit later. Monolith Productions is famous for Shadow of Mordor's Nemesis system, which in that game generates seemingly endless possibilities for the enemies you face, the way they act, and the stories that emerge as they face you again and again. The Nemesis system returns for Wonder Woman, Warner Bros. Has confirmed. Wonder Woman was announced in December of 2021 with a brief teaser trailer and description. Warner Bros. Has remained largely quiet on the project in the years since, although we do know that Wonder Woman is a single-player action-adventure set in a dynamic open world, is played in third person, and lets players become Diana of Themyscira in an original story set within the DC universe. Based on what we know of the game and what we're hearing now, Wonder Woman sounds like a mix between the Batman Arkham games and Monolith's own Shadow of Mordor. So yes, there is a little teaser trailer. It's only 40 seconds. There's really nothing there. It basically just shows Diana slowly being revealed by light, and that's really all it is. So there's not much there. If you want to go take a look at it, go ahead. I think the design of Wonder Woman is really interesting, but I don't think it's very newsworthy considering it was announced 3 years ago. But I will say this news, again, another piece of news that I wasn't expecting. I'm really surprised. I didn't realize that this had even been announced. This definitely flew under the radar for me. And I'm a little bit surprised about that because I really like Monolith Studios and I really like the games that they've produced. We've talked before here how much we enjoy the Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War games. I think they're absolutely amazing. The mechanics are wonderful. Outside of the Nemesis system, just combat is incredibly satisfying. The stealth is very well integrated, and it's such an interesting story that tells the tale of Talon, this ranger who is I don't know what the proper term would be, perhaps possessed by the spirit of Celebrimbor, he who forged the rings. It's a fascinating story, and I'm a little upset that it isn't canon because of how amazing it is. I had hoped for a third game in that series, but it looks like instead we're going to be getting this Wonder Woman game. And as long as this game feels like a spiritual successor to the Shadow of Mordor games, I think I'm going to be all in. Like I said, I absolutely loved the gameplay from combat to stealth. The Nemesis system, which is the focal point of those games, is just so amazing. There's so much fun you can have. There are different tactics you can take. If you want, you can clear out the entire orc army, or if you want, you can subjugate the entire orc army and make them be your slaves and your servants. Isn't that fun? Doesn't everybody want an army of orc slaves? So I think it's just a wonderful system, and I'm glad that they're pulling it into this. It is going to be a little bit weird. I don't know how the structure of this game is necessarily going to incorporate that in. It makes a lot of sense in the Shadow of Mordor games because of the way that the story goes. The entire point of it is that you are this guy who is rebelling against this army of Sauron, and you do it by taking over a portion of that army and forcing them to follow your will. So I don't know if that's going to be a direct one-to-one. I'm curious as how they're going to integrate the system into this. But I think it's going to be really, really fun. Just based off of some of the concept art, it looks like the combat is going to be really engaging. It's going to mirror a little bit of what goes on in Shadow of Mordor, and I'm really interested to see how the gameplay works with some of the fantasy aspects of the Wonder Woman character. We know that the Lasso of Truth is going to play a role in this game, and so I'm a little curious as to how the mechanics are going to work in that. Is that going to be the mechanic by which you force these agents of evil into your will? Is it going to operate like a bullwhip a la Indiana Jones? Is it going to be like a grappling hook where you can, snag some people far away and bring them in? I'm not sure, but I think it's going to be really fun. And I hope that the combat with Wonder Woman surrounding her sword looks beautiful. I hope that there are plenty of different combinations and things that you can effectuate to increase damage, and hopefully there's some cool animations that go along with that. I'm really excited about this, and it bodes well to me that there has been this online survey that was sent out. It signals to me that this game is still in production and they're still moving it along, however slowly, right? As I mentioned earlier, this was announced 3 years ago. Well, probably a little closer to 2.5, right? December of 2021. So it's been a long time, and as we mentioned in the article, they haven't really discussed it all that much. Which is a little bit disheartening. I would like to see at least a little bit of news, even if it's not like actual media from the game, like a story trailer or gameplay. I'm sure they're not that far along, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit of marketing or promotion surrounding this so that we could learn a little bit more about what the game's going to be about and what it's going to be like. But I think it's going to be incredibly fun. And so at this point, I want to transition to talking about the leaks from the game itself, right? So we're going to be taking a look at some of the concept art, and we're going to look at the description that was released. So fair warning, this may be a spoiler. It may not be, because ultimately this story and this concept art could be changed. We're still early enough that everything about this game could be completely different. But I do want to give a light spoiler warning for you there. So for the details of the leak, as mentioned in the IGN article, all traces of it have been removed from X and Reddit through copyright violations. So I've had to go to some completely random source, some random website that I've never heard of. So I'm not actually going to discuss the details of the article just because I don't know the source. But they've compiled the concept art, so good for them. So this comes from outerhaven.net. So right here we've got the first image of Diana of Themyscira battling an army of what appear to be like half human, half animal monster hybrids. Now this does seem really interesting to me. The art is very beautiful. Whoever designed this, tremendous work here. I'm curious to see what this is in the background, right? What is this shape? Is this... Oh, no, I understand. I thought this glowing orb was part of the structure behind, but no, it's actually being held up by this woman in the background, whom I would presume is going to be the main villain of this game. But I really like the design of Themyscira here. I like that it looks very much like it's an ancient Greek sort of city, a metropolis. It looks very beautiful. And the concept art here sort of signifies to me that, like I said earlier, we're going to be having these encounters, these conflicts with multiple enemies, akin to what we saw, or what we often see in Shadow of Mordor, and as mentioned in the IGN article, the Batman Arkham games. I hope that they keep the same sort of gameplay mechanics. I'm really curious. So we do have a few more of the concept art images here. Let's see, I can zoom in a teensy bit, but the resolution's going to get a little bad here. We've got Diana battling, Oh, I don't know what kind of mythical creature you would call this. Perhaps a wyvern? No, I think they have wings, don't they? But this is a lion with a scorpion's tail, and she's got her hands in the jaw, presumably keeping it from chomping down on her dome there. So I really like the design of this as well. It's pretty cool. It doesn't look like this is going to be a named creature. Like, it's not going to be a boss battle, as it looks like there's multiple others in the background. It doesn't seem to be like a solo one-off mythical creature that we're going to be facing. This image, though, is the one that really caught my eye. This design here looks absolutely beautiful. I love this harbor going into, man, I don't know, I guess I would assume, just based off the fact that, again, this is a harbor, that this is a marketplace of some sort. I really like whatever we got going on in the middle here. It looks like perhaps it could be a temple or a meeting place of some sort based off of the pillars there and the ancient Greek architecture. I think this is really cool, and I like what I'm seeing, and I hope that this is more or less what we actually see from the finished game, right? As I mentioned, we're still really early on in development, so there's a potentiality that this actually is going to be nothing like the game that we see. But I think it's incredibly beautiful, and I hope that they don't alter too much. I hope that the responses that they got from this online survey were mostly positive, and so that they keep moving forward with whatever they've got in the pipeline thus far. Now, further on in the leak, we do have a brief description of the game, which sounds pretty cool to me, I'm not going to lie. So let's get right into this here. You are Wonder Woman in this single-player action-adventure game developed by Monolith Productions. Oh, it's Productions. I think I said Monolith Studios earlier. The powerful sorceress Circe has invaded your island homeland of Themyscira, leading an army of Cyclops, Gorgons, and other monsters. It is up to you as champion of the Amazons to return home and fight their treachery. Use your godlike strength to deal shattering blows and tear through enemies in an epic battle to protect your birthplace from the invaders. Engage in fast-paced free-flow combat with devastating combos and wield powerful weapons gifted by the gods, including the iconic Lasso of Truth. As this original Wonder Woman story unfolds, you must also repair your relationship with your mother, Queen Hippolyta, and your fellow Amazons who feel betrayed by your decision to leave Themyscira many years ago. Over the course of the game, you will encounter iconic DC characters as well as a unique cast of procedurally generated allies and enemies. Through the power of the Nemesis system, they will remember your choices and actions and react according to their own beliefs. Fly across the open world of Themyscira as you explore the home of the Amazons and discover mythical inhabitants from Greek mythology. Fight back against the invaders and complete your quest to stop Circe from destroying your home and acquiring untold power. Available on PC, PS5, Xbox Series X and S. Available for $70. So, like I said, this whole description actually does sound really, really interesting to me. I like the idea that Wonder Woman returns to Themyscira to save her home, but she's not met with open arms. She's not greeted as the savior, as the champion of the Amazons. She's treated as somebody who betrayed her people, right? I think that's a really, really interesting storyline, a really interesting theme to explore, because it's understandable. That's what you would assume, right? Like, sure, there are going to be people who would understand Diana's reasons for leaving Themyscira. And now I guess I don't know what the exact reason for that is in this game, but generally, you know, one would assume that Wonder Woman leaves Themyscira to go save the world, right? So presumably there are going to be people who understand that and understand the need for that and how important she will be moving forward. But there's still that inkling of, like, you were one of us. You were the best of us. You were the champion of the Amazons, and you left us. You left us to fight and fend for ourselves, and now we're under attack. I hope that they hit on that a little bit. I hope that they at least infer that if Diana had stayed on Themyscira, that Circe would never have dared to come. Would never have dared to attack the island. I think that would be a really, really interesting story. The other thing in this description that really caught my eye was this line right here. Over the course of the game, you will encounter iconic DC characters as well as a unique cast of procedurally generated allies and enemies. I wonder which DC characters are we going to be seeing, right? How are they going to be worked into this? Are they going to be characters that have to be directly related to the story? I mean, it's going to feel a little bit out of place if Diana is fighting, a Gorgon, and suddenly Batman pops up and flies over and tries to throw a net down, right? It's going to be a little weird and feel a little out of place. Obviously, the most obvious, I guess. I don't know. I said obvious twice there. The most obvious choice for characters to include would be Superman, right? He is somewhat of a mythical quality as well. He has this relatively, granted, he's very sci-fi, but there's this sort of fantasy aspect around him. And I think that would be fun, right? Traditionally, over the course of the years, Superman has always been weak to magic. He's vulnerable to kryptonite and magic. So it would be a really interesting thing to do for perhaps Diana to call for aid, right? And maybe she reaches out to the whole Justice League, but only Superman responds, and he comes to help, but ultimately proves to be useless because he's incapacitated by Cersei's magic. I think that would be a really, really interesting story to tell. What I hope they don't do, however, is I hope they don't bring in DC characters and then have them become, possessed by Cersei, and so Wonder Woman has to fight her allies. I really don't like those kinds of stories in general. I think they've sort of been overused, and I'm not generally a big fan of them, right? I mean, the concept of what happens if Superman turns bad has been explored 1,000,001 times in various comic stories. So I hope that they don't necessarily go that route, but I am super curious to see how they're going to integrate, if it is him or just any other DC characters. I don't know. Let me know down below in the comments. What do you guys think? Who else could show up in this? What are some other characters that would make sense to appear in this Wonder Woman story? Perhaps Aquaman, right? He's has a fairly mythical fantasy quality about him as well. He's his own king of Atlantis, and so perhaps it makes sense for him to show up, right? Maybe there's a bit of what is the word I'm trying to look for? There's some overlap there. Maybe they'll understand each other, right? Coming from these mythical cultures where it's so devoid from what we see in the modern day, being these leaders, these rulers of these fantasy worlds. Perhaps that makes a little bit of sense. I'm also curious, are the DC characters, the other DC characters we're going to see, are they going to be strictly heroes, or are we going to see some villains as well? I don't know. I don't know who villain-wise would make sense to really show up in this. I'm not very well versed in my Wonder Woman lore. I'm not very aware of various enemies that she's had over the years. I remember, what's her name from... Oh, geez, she was in Wonder Woman 84. She's played by, a comedic actress, Kristen Wiig. I don't like her in general, and I didn't like her in this. Barbara Minerva, that doesn't help at all. It's something like, it might just be Cheetah, right? I think it's just Cheetah. I know she's a Wonder Woman villain, so perhaps that makes sense for her to be pulled into this as well. I think, the design of this character in Wonder Woman 84 was just absolutely terrible. It just looked redonkulous. But I think in a video game, it could actually work out really well. I think you can make... I mean, just look at that. How that just looks so bad. I mean, honestly, it's to be expected. That whole movie was just garbage. It looks really green in this picture. That's really weird. But man, what a terrible movie. What a terrible, terrible outing. But I really I like the character. I thought the first Wonder Woman movie was really good, and I've read one Wonder Woman comic. I think it's the opening volume of her New 52 run. I think it's actually written by Brian Azzarello, so you know I'm already gonna love it. One of my favorite comic authors. And so I'm really interested to see what we explore with this character here. Now, as the description mentioned, we're going to be seeing other DC characters, right? And there's a rumor that went around a little bit last year. I haven't heard any confirmation or denial yet, and like I said, this rumor was swirling around, I want to say in like August of 2023. But the rumor goes that the developer of Wonder Woman is working on multiple DC tie-in games, presumably featuring some of the characters that we explore in the Wonder Woman game itself. And that's sort of the main reason that I really want to see Superman, right? Like, obviously I love Superman. He's one of my favorite superheroes of all time. He sort of makes sense in this story, but not really. It might feel a little shoehorned to include him in there, but I think it would be really fun. And I mostly just want him to be included so that we can finally get a good Superman game. There have been a couple of them that have been tried over the years, and they haven't really performed all that well. And at one point, there was actually one in the works, I think from Rocksteady, the developer of the Arkham games. But ultimately, that got canned, and since I honestly don't even know when the last Superman video game would have been. Probably in like, I want to say probably in like the thousands. Here we go. From Wikipedia, a list of video games featuring Superman. 2006. Wow. Yeah. So it's been a long time. We're going on 20 years since we've seen a Superman video game. Before that was Superman Returns. I wonder, did this go over well? I can't imagine. I feel like movie tie-in games almost always are just terrible. Almost always. Like, there's a few really good ones. Like the Revenge of the Sith tie-in game is really good. Here we go. Reception. Oh, yeah, here we go. This is really bad. Game rankings, 54%, 53, 45, 31 for the DS. Wow. And then the Metacritic score, 51, 51, 46, and 33. Man, so not good at all. And that's one thing that I've never understood is why don't we have a Superman video game? Like, I feel like there's... I can't imagine it would be all that much more difficult than any other game, right? Like, I don't understand what the problem is here. I don't know why they've never broached it. Obviously, we've had multiple Superman movies over the years, most of which have gone over really good. We've had, obviously, Man of Steel is amazing. We love it here at the New Wave Nerds. And Superman is one of the, if not one of the most popular superheroes of all time. It's like the people battling for the top are Spider-Man, Batman, and Superman. We've got Spider-Man and Batman games aplenty, but no Superman game. And I've heard some people say that one of the reasons that we haven't seen it is the issue of flying and making it feel good and natural. But I don't think that's a fair criticism. We've had plenty of games that have had flying mechanics that have worked very well before. There was... Oh, man. It's making me so mad that I can't think of this game. It was released on, like, I want to say Xbox 360 or something. That's not going to come to me. But I know that the same company is developing an Iron Man game, right? And so, like, mechanics of this flying are not... It's not like it's never been done before. I don't understand why we've never seen one. And so I hope that this rumor actually turns out to be true. I hope that we are getting multiple games. Obviously, like I said, I really, really like Monolith Productions. I love the work that they've done with Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. Shadow of War wasn't as good, but both games were really amazing. I loved playing them. I think I've played Shadow of Mordor like 5 or 6 times, just playing through it. It's amazing. I think I even 100%ed it once. Did I 100% it? I'm pretty sure I did, because I spent a lot of time looking for like random collectibles and stuff in that game. But I loved it, right? And so I hope that this is true, and I hope that we get to see more games from this studio. They've been really silent as of late, and so I hope that the Wonder Woman game goes over well, and I really, really hope that we get to see more of it soon. I hope we get a little bit more information. But let me know down below in the comments, what do you guys think? Is this a game that you're going to be playing? Are you interested in it? I don't know. I think it sounds really cool, but what do I know? We have no information really, so take it with a grain of salt. But we're going to call it there, and we will be back here tomorrow with a brand new news segment, and I will see you guys then.